Alright, so today we're going to be fixing this floppy door handle, because as much as I like showing people my ass crack when I'm leaning across the car to open this one, I'm not sure anybody else enjoys it. So I'll take them off and we'll get into the shed because it is freezing. Alright, so we're in the shed. Now this is actually a really common issue on the Rx7 door handles, because Mazda made this bit out of plastic, and where it touches this metal arm on the back, it just breaks there, and then you basically end up with a floppy handle. Later on in the line, Mazda introduced aluminium door handles, so you never have that issue anymore. But there's also a few companies that actually make them. So I got these from rotary13b1.com. I'll leave a link in the description for them anyway. And also got a free jet tag, which is decent. So yeah, they will last the life of the car hopefully. But obviously this is the DIY tuners. We're not just going to replace them and then throw them back on the car. We're going to get rid of this Kevlar because I am painting the car yellow, hopefully. Although I've been saying that all 2020. We're going to get rid of this and we're going to go for the forged carbon. Now, if you watched the last video, we did the meat hood in the forged carbon, and I put a little clip up now of what that looks like. All we've got to do is give that the last sand and a lacquer, and then it'll be good to go. So we'll do the same process on these, and then replace the handles with these ones. I'm not going to put forged carbon on the handles just for sort of longevity, because obviously they get touched every time you get in and out of the car. It's just easier to keep them black and just forge the outside. So we're going to strip them apart, see what's broken on the inside. Hopefully it is the actual handle itself, and then we'll strip the Kevlar off, which could be a nightmare, and then we'll get ready to do some forging. Alright, so that is the door handle stripped, and if you look at this one, so you can see where that lug's snapped off. Obviously that's where that one's failed. This one's still alright, but we're replacing them both anyway, so they can go in the bin. Now, when you're choosing a fabric, make sure you're happy with what you're using, because taking this off was an absolute nightmare. I'm definitely not doing it again. So ended up using the grinder with a flapper wheel on, the Dremel, and proper roughing them up to get that stuff off. So now what we've got to do is, because they're silver, if we were to just use this chop strand and sort of sprinkle it on, you've got a chance that when it lies flat, you can still see sort of the metal behind it. Obviously because it's silver, it's going to stick out real bad. So what we'll do is we'll use this black epoxy base coat. We'll put a coat of that on and we'll let that set for about an hour, just so it goes like firm but tacky, and then we can sprinkle some of the chop strand on and then put some clear resin on it and then bag it up and leave it overnight, and then we'll be good to go. Alright, so this resin's been on for about 2 hours now, and it's just at that point where it's tacky but not on your finger when you pull it off. So what we've got to do next is get the chop strand and then sprinkle it all over, make sure we've got good coverage of that, and then when we're happy, we're going to be mixing up some of the coating resin, and essentially we're just going to wet the fabric at this point. Don't be too concerned about getting too much resin on it. It's not like if you were doing a moulded part, you would have to have enough resin, because when it pops out the mould, that is the finished piece. With the skinning, basically you build up the gloss as you go. So as long as the fabric's wet and then we put it in the vacuum bag, when it dries, we can then start to build up the gloss. So we'll get the chop strand on now, mix up resin in a vacuum bag onto the pump, and then leave it overnight, and we'll debag in the morning. Struck by lightning, So they debagged, and I think the coverage was alright. We've got no silver spots. We have got a bit of a dry spot in the bottom of the handles on both of them. Whether that's down to the bag or not enough resin, I don't know, but we'll get rid of that with the next 3 coats of resin anyway, because the next job is to sand all the little bits away, called denibbing. So all the little stray bits that stick out, I'm going to sand them away so that all that's left is the carbon that we want. And then we're going to get the coating resin, and we'll do 3 coats of that, 2 hours apart, just to build up the gloss on it. And then when that's dry, we can then sand it, do 1 more coat, and then it'll be ready for lacquer. Right, so it's been a couple of days and we've pretty much finished them now. So they've had 3 coats of the resin on, and then I've sanded them back and then done a final coat. All I need to do now is flatten with 600 and then put clear coat on, but I'm not going to do this yet because this is a 2K clear and you've got to press this button in the bottom which activates the full can. Obviously it'd be a bit of a waste if I just did it on these 2 pieces. So we'll wait till we've got a few more bits to do. But pretty happy with how they came out, to be fair. Obviously still need a flat and lacquer, but they'll go completely smooth. Now I did make a bit of an error with them. If you look at this bit, you might be able to see a bit of a black bit there and a few little bits where I've rubbed through when I was sanding it. Now forged carbon is sort of a lot less forgiving than sheet carbon. I think it's just because, you know, it's really thin in some places. So next time I would definitely take my time a lot more, maybe use like a 240 grit instead of the 80 grit that I was using, probably too aggressive for this. But it's not going to annoy me too bad. I will put one on the car anyway, and then maybe in the summer, you know, have another attempt at covering them little patches up. So that is going to be it for this video. Hopefully lockdown's over soon and we can get back to the Datsun and painting the Rx7. So if you do want to watch someone who's not painted a full car before paint their fresh Rx7, then, you know, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And also I'm looking forward to give you an update on the Datsun, because we have got sort of plans going on behind the scenes. Obviously we've not been working on it because it's been the lockdown, but we have got plans in place and we are going to be bringing that shell back to life. So yeah, really excited for that. It should be a decent summer. So yeah, thanks for watching as always, and I will see you on the next one.